At the end of March, European Council President Herman Van Rompuy chaired his first formal summit meeting of EU heads of state and government. On the agenda was Europe 2020, the EU's new strategy for jobs and growth. Competitiveness is a key topic of discussion, especially in view of the G20 summit later this year. But Greece's financial difficulties and their effects on the Eurozone was the topic of most urgency. And it was on this subject that MEPs questioned Van Rompuy when he attended an extraordinary plenary session in the European Parliament to present the conclusions of the Council summit. As he was at pains to point out, Greece has not actually asked for any aid as yet. But what has been highlighted by the Greek situation are the limitations of current economic and financial policies.
Il faut commencer par l'essentiel.
We must start with what's essential, budgetary discipline. This is why we created, at the time, the Stability and Growth Pact. And for some who plead for sanctions, for penalties, for being tough, we had this pact for stability and growth, but I see that for certain countries this hasn't helped.
Mais je constate que pour certains pays, ça n'a pas aidé.
Ahead of the summit, there were widely diverging views between member states on what form, if any, aid to Greece should take. There was opposition among many EU leaders to involving the International Monetary Fund in any solutions, whereas others, notably German Chancellor Angela Merkel, felt it was the IMF's role and not the member states to provide funding where necessary. A new mechanism was finally agreed just before the summit. To be invoked only when a member state can't secure enough financing through traditional channels, it proposes coordinated bilateral loans from EU member states combined with IMF funding. EPP Group Vice-Chairwoman Corien Wortmann-Kool called on Greece to stick to its promises for cutting its budgetary deficit.
Solidarity is a two-way street. Greece has to comply with the commitments it's entered into. It really must move toward full implementation of the reform plan. Can it win back the trust and confidence of financial markets? This is absolutely essential if we are to find a successful exit from this crisis.
The Greek situation and its implications for the Eurozone as a whole have informed some of the proposals put forward in the new EU 2020 strategy, which calls for increased coordination of economic policies at EU level. Van Rompuy reiterated the commitment by EU leaders attending the summit to increasing economic convergence between member states, and repeated their call for the Council to play a greater role in ensuring the economic governance of the EU.
The European Council wants to draw lessons from this crisis. That's why it created a task force under my authority. This task force will be established in close cooperation with the Commission and include representatives of the member states, the rotating presidency and the European Central Bank. It will present its conclusions before the end of this year.
Praising him for his efforts, Corien Wortmann-Kool also reminded Van Rompuy that the Parliament, as the equal partner of the Council since the entry into force of the Lisbon Treaty, should be actively involved in proposals, and challenged him to present the results of his task force in a report to Parliament.
En zo kijkt de EVP-fractie uit naar de voorstellen van de Europese Commissie.
And the EPP Group also looks forward to the proposals from the European Commission for greater economic coordination in the field of monetary policy. Our group is very much in favour of ensuring that we build on the Growth and Stability Pact so as to strengthen its preventative aspect. We also expect the Commission to play an active role when it comes to developing the new 2020 strategy.